we have the 12 links of interdependence, or the 12 links of dependent arising, which are Mare duce namshe mingso kieche rekpa tsorwa sepa lemba sipa kyewa gashi. So we have ignorance, karmic formation, consciousness, name and form, 6 sense gates, contact, sensation, craving, attachment, becoming, birth, aging, and death. So these are the 12 links of interdependence. This morning we have seen the first 9, and each one of them. Now we have to see the next 3, the last 3, and then after we'll see the relation between them, how they actually relate between each other, which is a very important part. So, we go now to the 10th, which is becoming. Becoming in Tibetan is called sipa. The word sipa also means existence. So it's when something becomes, which means it takes an existence. Okay. For me, the example is like if you say the vase has fallen in the floor, okay? But now the vase has actually not yet touched the floor. It's still in the process. If I throw the vase from the roof, I say, oh, the vase has fallen. Where? In the floor, but actually has not yet touched the floor. Why? Because I give the name of the result to the cause. Because I'm sure that the vase is going to fall on the floor. Becoming is a little bit like that. It's something that is in the process where something is inevitably will happen. Also, this name is being given. It's actually, becoming is also the name on the moment of the result of the karma, when something ripens. So, it has become this. It has taken this existence. Okay? We can understand better becoming when actually we will see the relation between the 12 links of interdependence. Then we can understand a little bit better. Okay? Generally speaking, we have different types of becoming, different types of existences. For example, we have the existence of bardo, which means in the moment of death until the moment of birth, in between, there is an existence, there is a reality. So there is a becoming, there is one reality that one experienced, that is a result of actions of the past, which is called the becoming of the bardo, or parsi in Tibetan. Then we have the becoming of birth, which is actually basically during the process of birth, there is an existence that we experience also. Then there is the becoming of life, which is from the moment of birth until the moment of death, there is the whole experience of life. Then there is the becoming of death, which is from the beginning of the process of death up to the end of the process of death. That's the becoming of death. That's a whole experience of existence. Okay? So, it's like becoming, it's the ripening of an action. It's the ripening of a cause. So it's like when a cause has been activated, like a seed has been activated, and until it doesn't give completely its whole fruit, it's in this process of becoming, of taking reality, of becoming something. Okay? So let's say before the seed was just planted there and was not yet ripening. How do you say in English? Not ripening, germogliare. Sprout. Sprout is the verb is to sprout. Okay. So what happened is that before sprouting, the seed is just stopped there. No, it's not moving. When it starts the process of sprouting, from that up to the giving of fruits and concluding its process is the process of becoming. So it's like becoming, it's when a karma, an action, it starts ripening. It starts giving its fruits. So it takes an existence, it takes a result. So in the moment that the result starts to appear, until it doesn't conclude its process, it's called becoming. Okay? Or existence. A new existence starts to arise until it's not concluded. We will understand it better when we look at it in the context of the 12 links of interdependence. Okay? Then we have the number 11 and 12, which is birth, number 11, and aging and death, which is the number 12. Birth is the moment where something actually starts. Okay? So when we talk about the process of death and rebirth of life, okay, when is birth? Is the actual moment of conception. When the mind that is going around the bardo is trapped into the ovum and the sperm of one's future parents, and it gets completely trapped into this new life, into this new body. From that moment is actually when birth starts. Then starts the whole process of the development of the body. But birth is actually that moment of conception. So that's actually what we call birth here. Birth is when a new existence starts. If we take out of the context of birth and reincarnation and so on, birth and death, then we can say that birth is basically when something actually starts. So I can have a new job, I can have a sickness, there can be a relationship, a friendship, whatever. When something starts, the moment that it starts, that's when it becomes birth. Okay? The becoming, it's also connected to the birth, but it lasts longer. The becoming, it's until that state of existence doesn't end. That's the whole becoming of it. Okay. Then, so the birth is just a moment where something takes shape, when it takes form, when it cannot go back anymore. That's what the result has ripened. So that's the result that we have. That's the existence that we have generated. Okay. Once birth has realized, has happened, naturally, we will have aging and death. Okay? In the moment we are born, sooner or later we are going to die. So from the very moment of birth, aging starts. And the process of aging has nothing to do with getting old. Okay? For example, when a child is born after 9 months of pregnancy, is already old, has already aged. Okay? So the process of aging starts at the very second instant after birth, after conception. So the point is that whenever something starts, automatically it starts to end. Whenever something begins, automatically from the same instant, the process of death also starts. The process actually of aging more than death. The process of getting near to death already starts. So it is like anything, For example, here we start this afternoon the teachings. From the moment that we started is when we gave birth to this moment. And from the very right moment that it started, it already started to get more and more near to the end. Every instant that passes, every second that passes, we are getting more near to the end. Okay? So, in the very moment that something starts, that there is birth, automatically we will have aging and consequently death. Okay? So, death is when that reality ends. We have that becoming, that existence that starts, and at a certain point existence ends, And we will see this together with the whole 12 links. It's much easier to understand. But aging is the process of getting near to death. That is the actual end of that existence. Okay? So if we talk about a friendship, if we talk about a job, if we talk about a sickness, the sickness starts, is the birth of sickness. In the moment that the sickness starts, it already starts the process of the end of the sickness. The end of the sickness will come or through healing or through death. But nothing will last forever in the sense, everything that starts naturally, sooner or later will end in the way how it exists. Okay? So, this is something that there are some very, very few exceptions, like for example Buddhahood. When you reach the state of Buddhahood, the state of being free from suffering and defilements, it's not because you reach that state that from that very right moment it's going to start to end. Okay? it's different. It's not like that. It doesn't mean that you are not impermanent. Buddha is also impermanent. Buddha is always transforming, but it's not going back anymore. Okay? This is just to be precise. But otherwise, if we talk mundanely, okay, everything else, everything that starts sooner or later will end in the way how it is. When we talk about death, when we talk about end, what do we mean? We mean transform. When we say something ends, it means it doesn't exist anymore in that state, it will transform into something else. Okay? This is important for us also to understand. In our Western mentality, we have a very linear view of life, and we have a view that everything, when something ends, it ends. So the end is always suffering. It's always difficult to accept death. It's always difficult to accept the end of something. You know? We can see it's like when there is something good and when it finishes, there is always difficult to accept that it's finishing. It's always difficult to accept the end of something. Why? Because we don't have the concept, the understanding that the end is just a transformation. It means it continues to exist in a different way. And it's part of life, the process of transformation. I'm going from one situation to another situation. So there's nothing wrong when something ends, generally speaking. But this is with everything. We go for dinner, oh, the dinner is ending, we never wanted to end because it was so nice and we want to keep it for long. Anything, we always have the sense of not wanting the end because we have a very linear view of life. That when end, it's completely finished. Instead, it's actually a process of transformation. When something ends, it means it doesn't exist anymore in that way, but it exists in another way. After aging and death, what's the result after death? Birth. Inevitably. So, when something ends, naturally something else will start. Okay? So this will see the... Now, it's just generally speaking. Now we go to the actual 12 links, then we understand it better. But when something ends, naturally, something else starts. At the same moment that one reality is ending, another reality is starting. Okay? It's just important for us to have this understanding what we mean by death. Otherwise, we think that when we say aging and death, aging is the process of getting near by death. What is death? It's the end of one way of reality and the beginning of another, which means it's this process of transformation. Okay? We need to start seeing a little bit of how actually these 12 links of interdependence relate to each other, how they work together, how it is working, this whole process that is called samsara, the cycle of existence, of cyclic existence. Okay? So, I have made this drawing in which we have 4 colors and 3 shapes. Okay? So we have a light yellow, the orange, the light blue, the dark blue, and then we have also the squares. How do you call this in English? A square turned 45 degrees, diamond shape, something like that. And then we have a circle. Okay? So what does these shapes mean? The square, which are ignorance, craving, and attachment, are mental defilements. Okay? The diamond-shaped square, let's say, 45 degrees turned square, which is karmic formation and becoming, are karma, action. All the circles, which are consciousness, name and form, 6 senses, contact, sensation, birth, aging, and death, are suffering. Okay? So, actually, you have all of this in page number 10. Okay? But, so we have this relation, first thing. Let's try to understand how they relate to each other. Okay? So, first of all, out of ignorance, which remember is the ignorance of not seeing the law of cause and effect and not seeing existence, reality as it is. Okay? So out of ignorance, we generate karmic formation. Karmic formation means together with all our emotions and defilements and personality and the whole thing that comes together, we do an action. Okay? So we say something, let's say we help a person. Okay? When we conclude our action, what happens is that we get consciousness. Consciousness means there is an imprint of that action that remains installed in our mental continuum. Okay, it's like we plant a seed in our mental continuum. Okay, in the moment that I complete the action. Okay, and one part is done. Then, this is, let's say, one part of a cycle. Okay, then another moment happens, a different moment happens, through which we experience a sensation, number 7. Out of sensation, what do we get? Craving. Okay? I want to be happy, I don't want to suffer. So what happened? Attachment. I project this on something. In the moment that I have craving and attachment that are also mental defilements, I am creating a condition like pouring water and sun in a cause that I have created in the past, so that it ripens. When it starts ripening, it becomes becoming. Okay? So, ignorance, karmic formation, and consciousness are the causes. Craving, attachment, and becoming, we could call it the conditions. Okay? So, out of craving, attachment, and becoming, I create a condition through which a cause that I have created in the past will ripen. The ripening of that cause actually is becoming. Okay? So, karmic formation is the karma in the moment of the cause. Becoming is the karma in the moment of result. Okay? So, let's make an example. So, just before the example, when I have becoming, out of becoming, what do I get? The result? Birth. Together with birth, automatically, I will get name and form, which is a psychophysical reality. Out of name and form, I will get the 6 senses, through which I will get contact, and contact will bring me sensation. This reality, these 4 orange parts here, name and form, 6 senses, contact, and sensation, they will exist throughout the whole process of aging and death. Okay? So it's like if we can put these 4 in between birth, aging, and death. Birth is when they begin, they end when we get death. Okay? So, let's try to make a practical example of it. I am on the road driving, and then there is a big road going up. Okay? And then I see one person that is sick. Let's say this person has a broken leg or whatever, and has a lot of difficulty to go up the road. So when I see that person sick with so much difficulty going up the road, I get a sensation. So I have contact and I have a sensation. My sensation maybe is not pleasurable. I say, oh, look at that person, poor guy, and I feel bad for that. Out of sensation, what do I get? Craving. In the moment that I get the craving, I say, I don't want to feel anymore that sensation. So what do? I can choose. I turn the other way around, so I stop looking at the man. I turn on the radio. I call my friend. I think about whatever, so I try to forget about him. This is one choice. Or I can also choose to say, no, let me help him. So I choose to help that person. This is the part from craving, it becomes attachment. What do I do about this? Okay. So what happens is that I stop my car, I ask the person to come in, he comes into the car, I take him up the road, I take him up to his house, I conclude the action, okay? 2 things are happening at the same time. At the same time, I am doing a new action, creating a cause by helping the person, but I am also experiencing something as I help the person, which is the result of something else that I have done in the past. So how does this enter with the 12 links? In the moment that I have the sensation that I see the person in a difficult situation, so I have the craving, I must help this person. Out of that, I have the craving, I don't want to suffer. I don't want the sensation anymore. So the attachment goes to, I must help this person. So I stop my car and I go to help him. At this moment, I am having a new experience. This new experience is becoming. Because in the moment that through attachment, I choose to direct my attitude, my action, and go there and stop to help the person, I'm creating a condition through which I will ripen some actions that I have done in the past. So in the moment that I stop the person come into the car, what starts? Birth. Because I am experiencing a new sensation, a new experience. Maybe the person is a very nice person and makes me feel so happy and good that the person is there. So I have this whole moment of feeling wonderful, which is the result of birth, of a positive karma that I have done in the moment of becoming. I have accessed a positive karma that gave birth to a good situation. With this situation manifests through a psychophysical, name and form, a psychophysical reality. Because there is sensation, there is discrimination, there is mental compositional factors, there is consciousness, there is body, all of that is present at the moment in a specific way, which manifests through the six senses, which manifests through contact, that brings sensation. This whole reality will last until I don't get to the end of the road, I bring the person to his house, finish, he get out of the car, and that experience is gone. That's the process of death. Okay? While I am doing it, and I am experiencing the result, the sensation I had of feeling happy and meaningful by helping that person, the actual fact of helping the person is a condition through which a cause that I have created in the past is manifesting. Okay? But at the same time, I am creating also a new cause for something that I will experience in the future. So in the same time that I am having craving, attachment, and becoming, I am also doing ignorance, karmic formation, and consciousness. Together with attachment and craving, it's also coming ignorance. Okay? And in the same time that I'm doing karmic formation, I'm also doing becoming. Which means every action that I do, in the moment that I'm helping the person, I am creating a new cause, a new action. I'm planting a new seed, a positive seed of helping the person. But I'm also experiencing the cause of something else that I've done in the past. Okay? Maybe I'm putting a positive seed, but I'm experiencing a negative action. Maybe the person that I bring into my car is smelling bad of alcohol or whatever, and I really don't like that smell, and it's very difficult for me to drive with the person there, and he talks too much or whatever, and it's not so a very pleasurable sensation. And then, okay, finally bring him to his house. Okay, I'm happy that I helped him, but it was not a good sensation. Okay? What does this mean? I created a condition that ripened a negative karma that I have done in the past because the sensation was not good. But at the same time, I created a positive new karma, a positive action by doing something good to help the other person. Okay? So we have two cycles that are, overlapping each other. Okay? So I have a condition that makes a cause that I have done in the past to ripen. And at the same time, I am creating a cause for something else that I will experience in the future. Who knows when? It can be 10 seconds after, it can be 1 life after, it can be 1,000 lives after. Okay? So, two important things. The 12 links are not totally linear. Second, some of them are simultaneous, they overlap. They are linear in the sense that from ignorance we have karmic formation. From karmic formation there is consciousness. When we get the consciousness of result, automatically we have name and form, which will bring six senses, which will bring contact, will bring sensation. Sensation brings craving. Craving brings attachment. Attachment brings becoming. Becoming brings birth. Birth brings aging and death. Okay? In this sense, yes, they are linear. But we do not experience in this way. It doesn't happen necessarily in this way. First, I create a cause. It remains there. But at the same time, they're overlapping. At the same time that I'm creating a cause, I'm also creating a condition. So ignorance, craving, and attachment, they are simultaneous. At least two at the same time, yes. We have at least always two at the same time. Because the same way that at the moment that I'm having ignorance, I'm also having craving and attachment. And in the moment that I'm creating a new karma through karmic formation, I'm also having becoming, which is the consequence of the action that I have done in the past. So I'm having consciousness of the result, and at the same time I'm having consciousness of the cause, which I am planting the seed. So in the same land that I'm putting the seed, I am also taking the fruit. From a different seed. Okay? In the moment that birth happens, simultaneously there is name and form. While I'm experiencing name and form, there will be the six senses, and the six senses will bring me contact. And through contact, I have sensation. But while I'm having sensation, I still have contact, I still have senses, and I still have name and form. It's not that one happens after the other ends, okay? They're all there. And I am already experiencing aging until I reach a death. Okay? So the cycles, they overlap each other. So how do we react normally? Out of mental defilements, which is ignorance, craving, and attachment, what do? Karma. So out of mental defilements, we act with action. This action is doing two functions. It's creating a cause for the future, and it's creating a condition for the present. Out of these two, what do I experience? Birth, name and form, six senses, contact, sensation, aging, and death, which is suffering. How do I react to this six? With craving, attachment, ignorance. How do I react to mental defilements? Action. What's the result of action? Suffering. How do I react to suffering? Mental defilements. What comes after mental defilements? Action. What comes out of action? Suffering. So this is called the cycle of samsara. Okay? If we go into more details, we have a sensation, inevitably, what do we do? Craving. Are we able to have a sensation without craving? Can we have a sensation and have no craving after it? No. In the moment that we have a sensation of pleasure or of suffering, naturally we will have the craving for happiness or the craving not to suffer. And naturally we will have attachment, and naturally there will be becoming and birth and all of that. So, how is it possible to stop this circle? But before that, is it clear the fact that they overlap? Is it clear this? Okay. And clear the fact that some of them are simultaneous. They are not like one happening after the other. Okay. But now, how can I stop aging and death? By stopping birth. How can I stop birth? By not having becoming. How can I stop becoming? By eliminating attachment. How can I stop attachment? By not having craving. How can I stop craving? Not having sensations. How can I stop sensations? By not having contact. To stop contact, I must not have the senses. To stop the senses, I must not have name and form. To stop name and form, there will be no more consciousness through which brings the result of the actions. In order not to have any more the consciousness, I must stop having karmic formations. To stop karmic formations, I must stop ignorance. So the cause of all of it is ignorance. If there is no ignorance, there will be no karmic formation, and so there will be no consciousness, and there will be no name and form, no senses, no contact, no sensation, no craving, no attachment, no becoming, no birth, no aging, and death. If there is ignorance, what happens? There is karmic formation, there is consciousness, inevitably there will be name and form, six senses, contact, sensation, craving, attachment, becoming, birth, aging, and death. But it's not a linear process that I am now, at which point I am experiencing right now. No, I am doing it all together all the time. There is birth of a new experience. There is death of an old experience. There is conditions that I'm creating to ripen a karma of the path. There is causes that I'm creating for a karma in the future. Okay? All of this is happening together. Okay? So, what's the way to make a change? go back through it until we eliminate ignorance. It's only through the elimination of ignorance, and by consequence, the elimination of craving and attachment, then it's possible to stop this cycle. Okay? So, if we go to page number 10, you will see they are called, we have here the 12 links, and then we have delusion, karma, and suffering, which is the divisions of it. And then we have what's called the impelling link, the accomplishing link, the impelled link, and the accomplished link. Okay? These are the traditional names that are given. The impelling link, which is ignorance, karmic formation, and consciousness, is like the cause, what gives the strength for something to happen. The accomplishing link is actually what gives the condition so that the result happens, so that it ripens. The impelled link is the way how it's manifest, and the accomplished link is the beginning and the process until it ends. So we have birth, which means when it starts the result. Aging and death is the process before it actually ends. Okay? In between it ends. So, in other words, we have causes. Impelling link is like the cause. Craving, attachment, and becoming, which is the accomplishing link, is like the condition. And then we have birth and aging and death. Then we have name and form, six senses, contact, and sensation, which are the results. Okay? So, personally, I like very much to look at the first image I showed to you in page number 4, in which you have actually in the cycle. Then it's more easy to understand it for me, at least. Okay? But it's important for us to understand that they overlap each other, and at the same time, there is this process of cause, condition, and result. Okay? And while we experience a result of something, we are creating the cause for something else. And it's constantly in this way. Okay? Is this clear? Okay? Something that I love about Buddhism, about Buddha's teachings, is that Buddha didn't care much about giving an explanation of existence that is pleasurable. He cared about explaining reality in a way that is coherent. No? When we look at the 12 links, it's not so pleasurable. Because we're looking at it and say, oh, where's the way out? No? We can, by reflecting upon the 12 links, we see how much we are trapped in samsara. Okay? But it's coherent. It's clear. Okay? But then we can also see that there is actually a way out. Sure, it's very easy to give an explanation of reality, very beautiful and nice, that everybody will feel comfortable about it. But it's maybe not coherent. So it's so important to have a coherent view, to understand and say, oh, okay, yes. Every action I do, I'm creating a cause. Every action I do, I'm creating a condition. So I'm constantly experiencing the results of the past and creating new causes for the future. So past, present, and future are always connected. Okay? So the problem actually is that while we have one experience of result, we can create many causes in between. It doesn't go one for one. It's not, okay, I experience one result and I create one cause. No. While I am creating one cause, while I'm experiencing one result, I can create 10 causes. It can go in many different ways in this, like this, okay? So this is for us to understand a little bit how this cycle is actually happening. Okay? Is it clear in this way? Well, we will see what we have just seen before in the context of the text, so we can understand the text a little bit better. It's easier for us. So here we have the text is from basically two important books, which is the first, a book by Lama Tsongkhapa, which is Nyame Chogi Gyabo Tsongkhapa Chimbo Dzebe Tiwa Lasam Rabkarles, which is from the very wholesome questions put forth with an extraordinary attitude by the incomparable Dharma King Great Tsongkhapa, which is a book that Lama Tsongkhapa wrote, text that he wrote, in which he put questions. He makes questions regarding the practice of Dharma. And it's a different book from most of the other books that Lama Tsongkhapa have written, because normally the books of Lama Tsongkhapa use a very high-level language and very, how do you say in English, erudite, academic, or very erudite language. It's not so easy always to understand. While in this text, he used a very simple and direct way of talking. Even some people later put some doubts if it was really written by Lama Tsongkhapa or not, because it's such a different style. But the point is that he made such a simple style because it was a text to make public. And his point was, anyone that knows how to answer these questions correctly, it's practicing the Dharma correctly. If you don't know how to answer these questions, then you are out of the path. Okay? And the only one that made an official answer to this question was Panchen Losang Chögyal Gyaltsen, I think some 400 years later, whatever. Okay? Quite some long time later, he did an answer. So here we have both the questions and the answers, not the whole text, just one part, which, if I'm not wrong, is the 5th question. So Lama Tsongkhapa says, Shenyang, Rangre nam korwa dir chikne chiktu gyute, korwe korsula nyongwa lawa makenani, korwa la shenlo dan kyoshe ngechung nam nalma onsa meching, tetar, korwa kyamtsula nyongwa lawa kebani, tende chungnyi kortsu gomba la ra lebena, tei kortsu dan, tende chungnyi change dan korim ngeba chendang, tenam gyunre su drotsung, tei kongne kibu sumgi titsu nam kanyi. Furthermore, there will be no way for us to reverse our attachment to samsara, to have a real sadness about it, and to have a real wish to emerge definitively from it without generating a vivid experience of how we transmigrate continuously from one rebirth to another rebirth in this samsara. That vivid experience of how we wander in samsara occurs in dependence upon the meditation on how we wander in samsara due to the 12 links. Therefore, then here comes the questions. What is the mode of wandering due to them? Their number being 12. Page number 6. Their number being 12, or of their order being definite, the way in which they are causes and results, and the way the guiding commentary on the 3 levels of beings comes within them. So basically, what Lama Tsongkhapa puts for us, which is a very important point, he's saying, look, you will never wish to get out of samsara if you do not see samsara first. We have a very strong attachment to samsara. You know? Very often we say, oh, I don't like samsara, but it's not true. What we don't like is the difficult aspects of our lives. You know? When we say, I don't like samsara, very often we are thinking, I don't want this person that talks like this, I don't want the economical problems that are there, I don't want to have a sickness, I don't want this, I don't want... That's what we understand by samsara sometimes, which is a wrong understanding. Okay? It's very easy, if we just look the way how we, human beings, normally we project a pure land or a paradise. In many cultures, okay, in many traditions, many religions. If we go and we see the description of paradise, what is it? Of heaven. What is the description of heaven? Is everything we want in earth without everything we don't want. Okay? So if we would make a new description of heaven nowadays, from zero, start from nothing, maybe we would put a fast internet connection in heaven, Or we would put other things that now we think are important and before were not, or whatever, okay? So, basically, my point is that we are very, very attached to samsara. Okay, we like it. Even though it's harming us. It's like when being attached to a drug, that you see that it harms you, but still you like the taste, you like the effect that it's bringing to you right away, and you create a dependence upon it. So within the cycle of samsara, first of all, we do not understand it. We do not really know what is happening. And because of that, we are very attached to it. So, there is a saying in Portuguese that is quanto mais mexe, mais lambuza. Which means the more you move, the more you get dirty. No? It's like sometimes you try to clean something and the more you touch it, the worse it gets. No? So what happens in samsara sometimes, is very often, is that we are so attached to it, but in order to eliminate it, actually we make it worse. So we don't want the suffering, so in order not to have suffering, we end up having negative actions and so on, so we make it even worse. So it becomes very, very important for us really to develop this intense wish, this determination to be free from the cycle of existence, the cycle of samsara, which is not the world, which is not the people. It is our inner cycle of mental defilements, negative actions, results of suffering, reaction of mental defilements, and so on. So until we don't see this cycle in a clear way, what happens is that we won't feel the need to get out of it. It's without seeing how samsara functions, and without seeing actually samsara, understanding what it is, we will never ever generate the wish to get out of it. Okay? Which doesn't mean that we must have the perfect understanding of every little aspect of its functions. It means understanding that there is no escape, understanding that it doesn't matter how much I try in other ways, I'm still on the same cycle of rebirth and death. Now there is a moment of pleasure, then after that is already coming another seed that is ripening from a different moment of situation. We know in our life, what happens after we have a moment of pleasure? There will be a moment of suffering. And it's always like this. Positive comes negative, then negative again, then maybe sometimes a positive, then come negative, then come a positive. And like this, we are constantly in this cycle. So until we don't understand clearly how the cycle is really working for us, we will not generate this strong wish to get out of it. Okay, so as Lama Tsongkhapa says, there will be no way for us to reverse our attachment to samsara, to have a real sadness about it, is to say, oh, I cannot deal with it anymore. I don't want samsara. I am fed up about it. There is like even nausea, I don't want samsara anymore. This will not happen until, and we will not have a real wish to emerge definitely from it, not have a wish really to get out of it really vividly within ourselves, without generating a vivid experience of how we transmigrate continuously from one rebirth to another rebirth in samsara. Because we need to have a vivid experience of how we transmigrate from one experience to the other and from one life to the other. And until we don't have a clear understanding about that, we will not generate a strong wish to get out. So that vivid experience of how we wander in samsara occurs in dependence upon the meditation, which means the familiarization of how we wander in samsara due to the 12 links of interdependence. So, for that reason, it's important for us to understand how do we wander in samsara due to the 12 links, why are they 12, what's their order, in which way they are causes and results, and how we can be guided on the path to enlightenment through the understanding of the 12 links, through the meditation on the 12 links of interdependence. Okay? So these are the points that Lama Tsongkhapa put that are important about it, and we're going to answer one by one. Okay? So here we go for the answer to one text which was written by Panchen Losang Chogyal Gyaltsen, that is called The Melody of Noble-Minded Proposal by Penchelos and Trygve Jensen, which is the answer for the text of Lama Tsongkhapa, the very wholesome questions, put forth with an extraordinary attitude. Okay? And this text is a very beautiful text written in verses. Actually, these two texts, we got them translated. I received these teachings in Tibet from the abbot of Tashilhunpo, the complete text, and we got them translated. Sherab did the translation of both of them from the Tibetan. Now, the first editing and corrections have been finished, so soon we want also to translate into Italian and Portuguese and so on, so we can also publish it. Okay? But here we go, and the text continues. The text says, the answer from Penchelos and Trygve Jensen. Tendreyela chongyigi kortso pakju ludruki lamsum tokta umepa korwe kin kor galmeyi kil kor tabu pensunki gyuchendini korwar gyur sungshin ngase mebar kor. The way in which the ordinary beings, which means those that have still ignorance, those that have not eliminated ignorance, the way in which ordinary beings wander in samsara, in terms of the 12 links, is as the following. Is as the following, taught by the Supreme Arya Nagarjuna. So here is one text by Nagarjuna called Umarinchen Tewa, in which Nagarjuna says, the three components are without beginning, middle, and end. The circle of samsara is like the circle of a lightning piece of wood being spun in the sense that those three components cause each other to turn constantly. They thus wander without any rest. So, the way in which the ordinary beings wander in samsara, the way in which we, normal beings, which means out of our ignorance, wander in samsara, in terms of the 12 links, is as following, taught by Nagarjuna. The three components are without beginning, middle, and end. Which are the three components? Mental defilements, karma, and suffering. Okay? We have in the drawing that we have made, we have the squares, the 45-degree square, and the circle. Okay? Which are basically, what are we have here? Ignorance, craving, and attachment, which is mental defilements, delusions. Then we have karmic formation and becoming, which is karma, action. And then we have birth, aging, and death, name and form, the 6 senses doors, contact, and sensation, which are result, suffering. Okay? So, these are the three components. They are without beginning, middle, and end. Okay? We cannot say in our own life, where is the first ignorance, where is the first action, which is in the middle. It's always constantly. They are always in the beginning, middle, and end of many processes. So every action is in the beginning of a new process, in the middle of a process that has just become, and in the same time we are concluding another process that have come before. It's always going constantly together. So, the three components are without beginning, middle, and end. The circle of samsara is like the circle of a lighted piece of wood, which means if we take a piece of wood and if we turn it very quickly, we cannot see the beginning, no? Or the end. We just see a circle of fire going on. Similar to that, through ignorance, craving, and attachment, we act. So we have karmic formations and becoming. In the moment that there is karma, there is action, what happens? We create a new cause for the future and a condition to ripen what we have done in the past. And out of that, what's the result automatically? Birth, aging and death, name and form, 6 senses, contact, and sensation. So we have that experience, which is in the nature of suffering. Even when it comes as pleasure, it still is the nature of suffering. Even when we have a sensation of pleasure, it is a sensation that is actually of the nature of suffering. A sensation of pleasure that is within the 12 links of interdependence, of us ordinary infantile beings, is still of the nature of suffering, which is when Buddha explained the Four Noble Truths. We have the suffering of change, which are also the pleasurable sensations that sooner or later will become suffering again. Okay? And they are the result of actions that were done with ignorance. Okay? They are the nature of suffering. So, what happened basically is that when we have suffering, how do we react? In other words, when we have sensation, how do we react? Craving, mental defilements, ignorance. And then what comes after that? Action. What's the result of action? Again, sensation and the whole thing that comes together. Birth, name and form, six senses, contact, sensation. Out of sensation, what do we have again? Craving and attachment and ignorance and action. So constantly, it's a cycle that it's always pushing each other. That is like, it's a movement that never ends because one is pushing the other constantly. Okay? But the example of the fire that is turning is because it looks to us, it appears as if it doesn't have beginning or end, as if it's just one circle of fire. If we really analyze it, is it a circle of fire or is maybe 3 points of fire turning quickly? It's 3 points turning quickly. In the same way, the cycle of samsara, it seems to us, it appears, and it exists as something that is no end, but there is a possibility of cutting it. There is a possibility of ending it. If we just leave it as it is, it will never end. Because we are constantly putting energy in it. It's like if there is something turning and we are constantly putting more strength in it. Why? Because we are constantly acting with anger, jealousy, pride, miserliness, ignorance, and then we do more karma, and then we have more result. And we are putting always more and more energy in this circle that becomes endless in this manner. So, this is the understanding of actually how it makes us turn around in samsara. So, here, maybe it's good for me to give one explanation of how it actually, the 12 links in relation specifically to the process of rebirth. Okay? So, what we have seen is that the 12 links, they are connected also in one lifetime. No? There is a sickness. When I get a sickness, okay? Is the sickness the result of something I have done in the past? Yes. When does the sickness manifest? Through a condition. I go to one place, I eat something, I do whatever I do, and the sickness manifests. So what I am doing at that moment is the condition, which is through craving, attachment, becoming, I manifest the sickness. In the moment after becoming, what comes out? Birth. I get sick. In the moment that I get sick, aging and death of the sickness already start. And within that, I get a psychophysical reality of my state of being sick, which have an influence on my senses, which has an influence in the contact, and brings me a sensation. Okay? So I have this experience of being sick, which is a reality that I created. I'm experiencing the result of an action. Okay? Which I have created the causes of ignorance, formation, karmic formation, and consciousness in the past somewhere, who knows where. Okay? So, this is one cycle. While I am sick, and I'm experiencing the sensation of suffering, do I act or not? Yes. So every action that I do, I don't want to suffer, so there is craving. Out of craving, I have attachment. Together with that, there is ignorance, more action. So I'm constantly creating new causes and creating conditions for other causes to ripen again. Okay? So I'm going from one situation to the other constantly. Why? Because we are constantly acting, and in every action we are creating conditions for the past and causes for the future. Okay? So, first of all, I believe it's very important for us to understand the 12 links in relation to this life. Okay? And to see how what we experience in this life is a result, even in a more gross level. When I have a sickness, for example, is it the result of what I am doing right now, or is it the result of what I have done before combined with what I am doing now? on a very gross level, physically, is the result of what I have done before, combined with what I am doing now. What I am doing now, I'm not doing anything more than less than accessing, giving conditions for what I have done before to give its results. Maybe in the past I have not taken good care enough of my body. Maybe in the past I have had very negative emotions that have created a difficult situation for my body. Then in the present, I create a condition of not taking care right of my health or whatever of emotion and whatever choice, going to the wrong place, eating the wrong food, whatever. And then what happens? It manifests the actual sickness. While I'm manifesting the sickness, I'm still creating more causes for other things that will happen later. Okay? So it's to understand that our life is cyclic. And it's not one cycle after that. We are living many cycles together. Everything that we experience is cyclic. But we have many cycles together. We have cycles of friendships, we have cycles of relations, we have cycles of work, we have cycles of health, we have cycles of stages of consciousness, we have cycles of so many things together. And they are all together. And one is influencing the other. Every action that we do. So it's very complex when we look through it, okay? The process of the law of cause and effect, it's very, very complex. So, the 12 links is a way of making this extreme complex system more simple and understanding how it is actually working in our life, okay? But do we have more or less an idea at least, okay, of how it is working during this lifetime? Now we will go to see how it works in relation to the process of rebirth from life to life, okay? That's actually the main way how normally it is explained. When we look at the 12 links of interdependence in relation to the process of death and rebirth, basically it can happen in 2 lifetimes or in 3 lifetimes, okay? A complete cycle. So what happens is the following. Let's say I am in this life, and I get to the moment of death, okay? In the moment of death, there will be sensation. Out of the sensation at the moment of death, there will be craving and attachment. The attachment at that moment is mostly the attachment for life, the attachment of the self, not wanting not to exist anymore. It's the attachment to existence itself, okay? But together with that attachment, emotions will rise, which we can have, it depends how we will direct our craving. And there can be anger, there can be attachment, there can be jealousy, there can be love, respect, gratitude, faith. There can be many different attitudes that we have at that very right moment. So in the moment of death, what I'm doing is that through craving and attachment, I am creating a condition through which one or another karma will ripen in the form of becoming. Okay? Becoming is the manifestation of the bardo, the intermediate state between one life and the next. Okay? This whole process could be described in many, many details. I'm not going to enter into them right now, okay? Because I'm focusing on the 12 links, but we could go into much more details about it. But what happened is that in the moment of death, the mental state in which I die is the condition that I create for a cause that I have created in the past to ripen. Okay? So during this lifetime, how many actions have I done? Positive and negative. Many. Some of them in this lifetime itself I have already experienced the result, so I have extinguished them. Many others I have simply accumulated and I have them there. In my previous life, I still have many causes, positive and negative, of my previous lives that are still accumulated there. So, in the moment of death, the conditions that I create actually have a very, very vast number of possibilities of karmas to access. Okay? So, if I create a positive condition in the moment of death, I will access a positive karma. If I create a negative condition, I will access a negative karma. Okay? positive condition, positive karma, negative condition, negative karma. So, if I create a negative condition, small negative karma, rebirth in the animal realm. Medium negative karma, rebirth in the hungry ghosts. Strong negative karma, rebirth in the hell realm. Okay? Tomorrow we will talk more about the 6 realms and so on. So, this is how it goes. So, even if I have a very good life during this lifetime, I am a nice person, correct person, I act well and so on. But if in the moment of death I die with anger, with a negative emotion, what am I accessing? A negative karma. What type of becoming will come out of that? I will have a rebirth in the bardo of an animal realm, the bardo of a hungry ghost, the bardo of hell realm. It depends on what type of negative karma I have accessed. Or positive karma, depending if I created a positive condition. Out of that, depending on the type of becoming that I happen to have, which is the bardo that I have, this will determine the type of rebirth that I will have. Okay, I'm simplifying the whole process. Okay, it could be much more. It's possible to be much more complex, but based on the bardo, this will determine the type of rebirth that I will have. So, conditions in the moment of death will access the karma that I have created during one life, wherever. Positive karma, positive becoming, negative karma, negative becoming, positive birth, negative becoming, negative birth. There is coherence in between. In the moment that I have a birth, automatically I will have name and form, 6 senses, contact, sensation, aging, and death. Okay? So, during the next lifetime, in the moment that I am born, slowly, the first thing that appears is this psychophysical reality, which is the moment of conception. Then gradually the body develops into the 6 senses and the 6 consciousness. And then gradually out of that, I get out of the body of my mom, my mother's womb, and then I have more contact with the 6 senses. And then after that, I will have sensation, after which means the same moment actually. Okay? So during lifetime, with sensations, do I have any craving and attachment and actions? Many. So I create many, many more causes. Okay? Some of these causes, I will extinguish them during lifetime by all the experiences that I have. And other causes, I will just keep them there. And in the moment of death, I will access them or not. So, based on that, what happened is that this cycle can happen or in 2 lifetimes or in 3 lifetimes. In 2 lifetimes, it's like this. In this life, I create a positive action. It's deposited in my mental continuum. Then, in the moment of death, I create a positive condition through craving, attachment, becoming. And then I access that same positive karma that I did in this lifetime. So I have ignorance, karmic formation, consciousness, craving, attachment, and becoming that is in 1 lifetime. Then, as a direct result after that, I get a rebirth, of a positive rebirth, inside of which there is aging and death, name and form, 6 senses, contact, and sensation. So this is 2 lifetimes, okay? 3 lifetimes happens in the following way. In 1 life, I create the causes. Ignorance, karmic formation, and consciousness in 1 lifetime. After that, many lives pass. It doesn't matter. 1, 2, 10, 1 million, it doesn't matter. Then, in 1 life, after many, I have, in the moment of death, craving, attachment, and becoming that ripens that action that I did in the past that manifests as a next rebirth. So between craving, attachment, and becoming and birth, there is never 1 life in between. It's always from 1 life to the other. But in between ignorance, karmic formation, and consciousness, and craving, attachment, and becoming, there can be as many lives as we can imagine. 1, 10, 100, and so on. So between craving, attachment, and becoming, which is the condition in the moment of death, and birth, there is no any life in between. Okay? But in between ignorance, karmic formation, and consciousness, and the result of that specific karma as a rebirth, which means through craving, attachment, and becoming, many, many lives can pass. Okay? That's why we say minimum 2 lives, maximum 3 lives. When it's 3 lives, it means in 3 lifetimes, we can conclude a cycle of 1 karma in the process of rebirth, but in between the first part and the last and the second part, many, many lives can pass. Okay? So, what's the point of watching this, of understanding it? Is that, let's say we have a very good life. Okay? We are a correct person, a nice person in many ways, but we are not so able to deal with some anger and some negative emotions that we have strongly. And then, by whatever conditions, we die with anger. The positive karma that we did is not wasted. Why? Because it's deposited there. At some point, I will be able to access it. But I will access in the moment of death a negative karma, making me to have a lower rebirth. The real problem is that in the moment that I have a rebirth in the animal realm, in the hungry ghost realm, or in the hell realm, it will be extremely difficult for me to die again with a positive mind. And so, most probably, I will die again with a negative mind that will create another negative condition for one more negative rebirth, and like this I will go on and on and on for quite some time. Until, for whatever special reason, I'm not able to get out of it. Okay? So, what happens is that once we enter into a negative cycle, it's very difficult to get out. Especially if we are reborn in stages as we call hell. Tomorrow we will explain more about it, but stages of so much suffering and anger that it's very difficult to create a positive condition. So we constantly create negative causes, negative conditions, brings negative results, and we go into these 12 links in a negative way. So it's like a vortex of suffering. Instead, if we do it in a positive way, what happens is that if we create a positive circle, we have positive conditions which bring positive results, we make positive causes, and this will bring like in a vortex, but going upwards, like going in a positive cycle. Okay? So one of the very important things is that we have a very, very, very privileged life. With so good conditions in our life in order for us to create a positive cycle and not to be trapped in a negative one. Okay? So now that we have this opportunity, we shouldn't lose it, because when we think about life, sincerely, we don't live in a very nice world of existence. When we look to this world, what we can see around us, it's not so beautiful. In the sense, nature is wonderful, this planet is beautiful, I love people. But how much violence is there? How much ignorance is there? How much suffering is there? We live in a very rich part of the world where everything very often looks very nice and so on. But if we really look to the world clearly, how much suffering is there? It's something that it goes much beyond our own imagination. There are some stories that I read, for example, about real stories, that I have difficulty even to tell them from how much suffering there is. So, when we think about it clearly, we see how fortunate we are. And it's not like, I remember once Rinpoche saying, how deep is samsara, you really don't know. How deep suffering can get, we really don't know. We love to complain about many stupid things, but how deep suffering can get, we have no idea, most of us. So, what happened through that is that we don't want to experience that. We don't need to get there. For some special reason, for cause and conditions, we are in this very fortunate state. So we must be able at least to keep it. How? By familiarizing ourselves with positive states of mind. Because it's not obvious to have a good body, live in a place where we have good conditions, be able to follow a spiritual path, which means to direct our mind positively. It's not obvious, all of that. So what we need to do is to use these conditions, not take it for granted, and use it to familiarize our mind with the virtue, to familiarize our mind with positive things. So we create positive conditions, so we get positive results, and we create positive causes for positive results constantly. This is the most important aspect in all of that, because really, when we think about even this Western world, rich part of the planet that looks so beautiful and so nice and everything, if you really look at all the suffering that is there, it's not so nice, really. There's this story of this monk that had been out of the monastery, for a long time in Asia, first time gets to the West and goes to the house of this family that looks very happy. And everybody has this beautiful, as in America say, the American dream, the nice house, beautiful, with the dog and the garden in the front and the backyard. And they are all the family, beautiful looking, everybody, nice food in the table, everybody is smiling and everything is so nice and so on. And the monk look and say, oh wow, this looks really like heaven, no? Here people are so good. Oh, that's so wonderful. Look how happy they are, how good is life here. Then he goes to the toilet and opens the cupboard. And he looks in, and then he looks. Medicine to sleep, medicine to go to toilet, medicine for this, medicine for that, medicine for depression, medicine for the, and like this it goes on and on and on. They say, oh, okay, now I understand where is the trick. It's not really working. There is, no? So if we look, for example, in this materially rich part of the world where we live, how much mental suffering is there? Amazingly, a lot. So, I am very positive normally. But if we stop to look, the suffering that is in the world, it's not small. So really, say, I don't want to be part of it. I don't want to suffer even more and not to take opportunity of these precious conditions that I have right now. Because what I have right now is an extremely positive condition, precious conditions in which I can create and I can follow a positive cycle of interdependence. If I'm able to enter into a positive cycle of interdependence, sure, there will be difficulties and so on, but still I'm following a positive cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, and so on. Otherwise, if I enter into a negative one, then things can get really bad. Then things can get really difficult. So it's better for me to take care and direct myself into a positive cycle. So within the 12 links of interdependence, where can we actually act to make a difference? Not in so many places. Our psychophysical reality is more or less what we have as a result of our karma. Our senses is what they are. Contact is the result of the places we go and the things that we see and so on. Sensation is a result of contact. It's not possible to have sensation without having craving, but there is attachment. In attachment, it means where we direct our mind, how we look for solutions. And here we can make a difference. According to the way how we act with the becoming, the way how we act out of attachment, is the way how we act with our karmic formations. That's where we can make a difference, which means dealing with our mental defilements, taking care not to do negative actions, to follow positive actions, to familiarize ourselves with what is positive, abandon what is negative. That's where we can make an actual difference in the whole process. And ultimately, the best place to make a difference is eliminating ignorance, but we will see that tomorrow. But here we can make a difference. How do I react to sensation? Positive sensation, negative sensation. How do I react to suffering? Do I follow by mental defilements? Do I try to eliminate them? Do I cultivate positive states of mind? Which ones do I follow through my actions? We have this freedom. And through that we can create or a positive circle or a negative cycle. That's on us to decide. Okay. So, when we looked at 12 links of interdependence, at the same time that it can be something like, oh, that's difficult, At the same time, it shows us the path to be free and how to have a good life and how to get out of the cycle of suffering itself. Both of the things are being shown to us here. Okay? So I think for today, we have seen quite a lot. And tomorrow we will continue with the rest of the text and understanding once again. We go through once again the 12 links and have a better understanding. Then tomorrow we will see the rest of the drawing, understanding the 6 realms of existence, and inside we have the 3 delusions and so on. Okay?